A PlayStation fan might be seeing the title or the thumbnail of this video, and right away they might be saying, Cap, there's no way Sony is in trouble when Microsoft is down 70% when it comes to console sales. But I would ask that pony, that PlayStation fan, to hear me out just for a bit, because I'm about to paint a picture for you that would have you asking, how is this even possible? Just like how Joe Rogan was asking himself, how is this even possible when he interviewed Kanye West?
How much does the earth cost? I'm gonna buy the entire earth and be king.
If you ask any PlayStation fan how PlayStation is going, they would say they are doing stellar, breaking records when it comes to console sales. If you ask them, what about the games? They would say, forget about games, we have console sales. I mean, everything for a PlayStation fan is console sales. That is the end all be all of whether the platform is doing good or not. But when it is you peel back the layers and you investigate a little more, you start to ask yourself, how is this even possible? Because, for example, if it is you was take a look at Ghost of Yoti. According to these ponies, this game did exceptionally well. I mean, it is the best game Sony made in 2025. It did so well. It beat back so many games. I mean, how the PlayStation fans hyped up Ghost of Yoti, you expected it to be at number 1 best-selling game in 2025, but no, it's number 10 according to this chart. While Xbox have 5 titles on the chart for the best-selling for the year. But I digress. What happened to Ghost of Yoti? Did the studio head announce new plans for DLC, for new games, or did Sony go about praising the studio head for their stellar work at Ghost of Yoti? No. Instead, we are hearing news that Sucker Punch production co-founder Brian Fleming is leaving PlayStation and Sucker Punch. PlayStation tweeted, our deepest thanks and gratitude to Sucker Punch production co-founder Brian Fleming, who is handing over the leadership reins as the studio begins a new chapter. Starting January 1st, a longtime creative and technical lead Jason Connell and Adrian Bentley will step into new roles as studio heads, continuing to guide the team focus on ambition, character-driven experiences that define PlayStation Studios. So yes, this was a statement released by PlayStation, seeing that this guy would have, decided to leave right after one of the biggest games, according to ponies, that ever came out. Now, PlayStation fans are saying, come on, this guy is old, he's decrepit, he can't walk well, he's going to collect pension. That is why he's leaving the studio to go and rest. Yes, his days toiling in the minefields is over. This is what ponies are saying, why this guy is leaving. But I just find it very interesting that Ghost of Yoti, the best-selling game, is not outpacing Ghost of Tsushima. It's happening when that Sony didn't win Game of the Year. It's happening despite all the controversy around Ghost of Yoti. I mean, how could someone say that everything is okay with PlayStation when we have veterans like this leaving the studio after supposedly one of the biggest games and biggest successes that Sony would have had? I mean, come on.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
You might be saying, come on, Jay, that is only one, very weak argument that something is wrong or Sony is in trouble. That's very weak. Guy was older than this guy. What else you have, Island Gaming, with Jay? That argument was weak. Well, let me tell you what else I have. Well, as you all know, PlayStation has attempted to go into the games as a service route. And we saw with the help of Arrowhead, they would have had a success story with Helldivers 2. However, their attempts on their own, Concord, died and burned and left the PlayStation business minus 400 million. So everything is riding on their next games as a service. Would Sony have a hit on their hands? And that is Marathon. Yes, Marathon. We know Marathon 2 started off kind of rocky and kind of shaky because we saw where it is they were in some legal problems with the devs at Marathon stealing artwork from independent artists. Well, that was settled, and now Sony is ready to release or unveil more information about Marathon. And this is what we have so far. But after the latest trailer they would have released on Concord, wait, sorry about that, it's not Concord. I'm seeing a little blurry. The latest they revealed on Marathon has the gaming community talking, because first up they revealed that Marathon will not be a free-to-play game. It will cost $40. Yes, Marathon, you have to spend $40 for what you are seeing on the screen. Wow. Now, since that latest trailer, how are persons receiving Marathon? What are persons saying about it? Let's look at some tweets. Someone who was an actual play tester tweeted, "I played the playtest and this game was so boring and horrible. Arc Raiders is so much better and it's obvious Marathon is trying to take inspiration from that."
Damn. I'm sorry.
Rin tweeted, "Marathon looks worse than I expected. Literally looks like a Destiny 2 Total Conversation mod forced into an extraction shooter. Looks nothing like Marathon." Grim Hollywood tweeted, "Marathon is dead on arrival. Concord was better." Grim Hollywood, I'm not even reading the remaining of your tweet. You are wilding, man. You are wilding. Kilski tweeted, "I knew Marathon was cooked the moment they try explaining their revolutionary new heat mechanics. You run very fast, but the trade-off is that you overheat, so you can't do it for very long. See, trade-offs, guys, like the Halo franchise. You mean a stamina bar?" Now, on top of all of those negative reviews from actual persons that played Marathon, we are hearing more information now that Marathon franchise art director Joseph Cross has left Bungie by choice. Yes, this game was so bad that this guy couldn't even stomach working at Bungie anymore. But the PlayStation community and the biased gaming media would have you believe that everything is okay with Sony. But let me ask you, the leader of Sucker Punch gone, our director in Marathon is gone. Sony's okay, right, ponies? They are okay. So at this point, there still might be some ponies out there who they are not convinced that Sony is cook. I mean, after all, they are selling so many consoles. Well, consider this. PlayStation would have invested all their time and effort to ensure that they sell as many PlayStation 5s as ever. And that is the total opposite to what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft is not focused on selling console, and that is very clear. We would have seen Microsoft didn't give anyone any discount on Black Friday for their consoles. As a matter of fact, Microsoft would have raised the price of their consoles. In addition to that, we would have seen Microsoft pushing Play Anywhere, play on any device. So it's very clear that Microsoft is not pushing their hardware when it comes to consoles. And because of that, we would have seen a 70% drop in hardware because Microsoft is not pushing it. That is clear, that is logical, right? But think about Sony. Sony is the one who has been pushing the PlayStation 5. Sony is the one who have been, creating discounts, doing bundles. Sony are the ones out here using the old model of trying to make it in the gaming industry by selling as many consoles than ever. So one would think that because of Sony's efforts, we're supposed to see not a decrease like Xbox,
but an increase when it comes to console sales. There should not be a negative metric when it comes to console sales in PlayStation, right? Well, you would be wrong because there are reports stating
Xbox sales are down 70% year over year with PS5 down 40%.
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that?
If you didn't feel the need to pick up a video game console this past year, you were certainly not alone. A new report from Circana says the gaming industry just had its worst November for console dollar sales since 2005, in a month when Black Friday is supposed to be a boon for such purchases. Physical software sales are the worst they've been since 1995. This is spread across the board, and none of the big three are immune. Xbox Series X consoles are down a colossal 70% year over year. Sony's PS5 is down a hefty 40%. Switch plus Switch 2 sales were down 10%, even as the Switch 2 was released this past June. Why? While there are many reasons, a simple one is, prices high, consumer money low. As a result of tariffs and other market conditions, the prices for new video game hardware have skyrocketed. Xbox upped its hardware prices twice this year, with a Series S now $400, $450, depending on the model, more than a launch PS5 was. Xbox Series X is now a $600, $800 purchase. On Sony's end, it eventually had to follow suit. All console prices jumped $50, the PS5 digital now $500, $100 more than it was at launch. PS5 standard is $550, and PS5 Pro is $750, coming in under the max storage Xbox Series X while having more power, but still, that's an incredibly high price. The Nintendo Switch 2 has not raised prices since its June launch, of course, but that console handheld launched for $500 compared to the $300 launch price of the original Switch, though the Switch 2 is still the fastest selling console of all time, so far. So, many consoles are now $50 to $200 or so more expensive than they were 5 years ago in an industry where you'd usually seen unit prices go down as the generation pressed onward, and we're now in its back half. The other part of this is what's going on with the economy, where prices have increased on loads of other purchases, so brand new video game consoles may seem like a luxury item that many people are not going to bother with right now. Essentials like housing and groceries are rapidly becoming more expensive, and recent polls show that 70% of Americans say things have become too unaffordable and have a poor view of the current economy.
So there you have it. In the month of November, despite Sony's best efforts, they still saw a 40% decrease in console sales. We know that Xbox and Microsoft did not put in any effort, and that is why they saw 70% console drop. And we're not only talking about consoles, but even physical games hardware. So think about that for a minute. Sony put their best foot forward, coming out with a new PlayStation game, Ghost of Yotei, dropping their consoles for Black Friday, making all sorts of bundles and deals, and yet still they dropped 40% in console sales. Now, if you are not seeing that here, right now hardware is cooked to a point, then you have to be blind. Now, I'll tell you something, Microsoft has already started to look at alternatives in addition to the console. So they have the console for those who want it, and also for those who are not on the consoles, they are reaching the gamers where they are. But the fact is that the gaming industry is painting that Sony is immune to all of what is happening. That is the furthest thing from the truth, and I know what a lot of persons are not talking about it. That is why I have to expose them. Sony too is in problem, as you can see that they are down 40%, and guess what? They tried. So let me hear what you thought about all the evidence that I would have brought to the table here. What do you think about this 70% Xbox is down and this 40%? Although Sony tried, they still saw a decrease in their console sales. Let me hear what you thought about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.